Hello and welcome everybody, and more specifically to the folks here on the call, Paprika's 2021 Playwrights Unit. To start, I think it would be nice if we all, just for people who are listening in, said our name, shared our pronouns if we'd like. I want everyone to go on and tell what time it is for you, because this is important for our viewers. And then just for fun, maybe describe one thing that's in the room you're in. Okay, so I'll start, and then I will assign who kind of goes next. That will be our cute little intro, and then we're gonna get into it. Okay, my name is Bilal. My pronouns are they and them. I'm the Playwrights Unit facilitator. It is currently 11:10 p.m. for me, and there is, oh wow, okay, there is a small cardboard box that has Pizza Hut written on it on the table that I'm on right now, and it formerly had breadsticks in it, and now it no longer does. Okay, great. I will pass it to Juliet.
Hello, my name's Juliet. My pronouns are she and her. And oh my gosh, I don't know what to describe, but I've got a deck of cards here, and they're all really bent out of shape because we play aggressive games of speed. So yeah, thanks. And I'll pass it to Sonny.
Do you want to share the time you're in?
Oh yeah, it's 11:11 here. Ooh, make a wish.
Nice.
All right. Hi, I'm Sonny. I use any pronouns, whatever you want is fine. I'm in my sister's room right now. So in front of me, there is, for some reason, like a small stuffed monkey that has headphones on. I can just show it. I don't know how to feel about this thing. Anyways, it's staring me down. But yeah, it is 11:12 now for me, p.m.
The time is moving along. Okay, great. Walter, how about you?
Hello, my name is Walter Moraes-Mendoza. It is 12 p.m. over here where I'm at. And something in the room. There's a painting with a broken frame, but the painting is a very nice painting of flowers. I could also put it on the screen if you guys want to.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah.
You just ripped it off the wall there?
No, it's broken. It's like on the ground here. Don't ask, I don't know.
Yeah, respect the art. I love it. Okay, over to you, Upasana.
Hi, I'm Upasana, and the time here is 8:43 a.m. And the thing that, sort of interests me is that bottle right across me, which I think my dad sort of filled up before he left the house, which is nice. Yeah. So yeah, that's nice.
Amazing. Okay, thanks all so much for indulging me in that. I just wanted to, as this program is wrapping up, I'm reflecting so much about pandemic in relationship to a playwright unit. And one of the things I can't get over is the fact that because we did things virtually, our ability to connect across time zones and geographies is a really special thing. I know it's inconvenient to currently time for some of us, but I do think there's also something really special about, if we weren't in a pandemic, maybe us five together would not have come together in this way. And so I just want to put that into the air. Before I get into my introduction here, where I'm just gonna let our viewers, listeners in to what was achieved this year by the Playwrights Unit, which is y'all four, and then we're gonna get into a bit of a conversation, which I'm really looking forward to. Okay, so I'm gonna take you all back, if you remember far enough, to December 2020. That was our first meeting, early December, and we started the year by jumping into recommender grants for theater creators. It's an Ontario-based grant. And we kind of picked apart what it is, why it exists, how to kind of apply, specifically for the folks who were eligible to apply for that grant. In the new year, we started the process of reading plays virtually, and having those same playwrights come in and chat with us to answer our questions. So we read the works of Amanda Cordner and David Giovanni, Jeff Ho, Anita Majumdar, Bruce Gibbons Fell, and tonight we are modeling this celebration off of how these interviews typically went with these guest artists who came with us, which was the playwrights were tasked to read the work of these artists, research them in the 2 weeks, and then when those artists came in, to come in with your questions and ask them to the guest artist about process, life, craft, anything. And so tonight the tables are turned. Our guest artists are our 4 playwrights who are in the unit this year, and I have prepared a series of questions for all of you to honor your craft, your process. Okay. After that, so while that was going on, those playwrights were dropping in and out throughout our time together. You received information by me on character development, sustaining tension in scenes, capturing authentic human speech. You received information on structuring stage directions and how to format scripts, and more. You wrote your plays, you rewrote again. You shared with each other your work. You read each other's work out loud, which can be scary and terrifying, but you did it. You changed things in your plays. You solved things. You developed more questions. You then cut things. You got stuck. You got unstuck. You got stuck again. You sharpened your voices, and you are all moving towards fully capturing what it is you want to say with each of your pieces, which again is no small feat. You had your plays workshopped with real live, amazing, generous actors sometime in April. Those 5 were Breffney Caribou, Amaka Ume, Sulu Kalema, Javier Lopez, and Maddie Bautista. After that, you submitted, almost all of you submitted assignments on developing artist statements, playwright resume, and show blurbs. You can still send in those assignments. Our work never ends. So tonight is honoring that too. After that point, you workshopped excerpts of your pieces, of your plays, with another round of real, live, amazing, generous actors who go by the names of Uche Mackenzie, Natasha Adiana Morris, Emma Jade Sims, Stefan Smith, Anna Serena Sierra, Sebastian Marziali, Zeppa Raybod, and Stephen Vlahos. Tonight, as we chat for you viewers, you'll be hearing the pieces, small pieces of those excerpts that were recorded over that weekend with those actors and our playwrights who so generously offered their text to be workshopped. These audio pieces that I just referenced were supported with sound design created by Sophia Fly and Emily Townshend. All of this, everything that I've said so far, was supported by the program manager of Paprika, Daniel Jelani Ellis, and Taylor Young, as well as all Paprika staff, okay? And tonight, the audio pieces that will have been released into this world by the time this video is launched. So all of your pieces will be out in the world for people to consume. So congratulations, you made it. I still keep sending you long ass emails, and that's only because I'm annoying, but you're done, and you're kind of almost done. And and we'll talk, right? But this is all to really, really celebrate all that was achieved over these months, you know, and sometimes we forget because we're just working so hard or life gets in the way. But I wanted to take this moment to really walk through everything that all of you did, which is so, so phenomenal. Okay. All right, now the questions begin. So my first question, and what we'll do here is I'm going to ask the question and then I'm going to choose who's going to answer. I've got a very specific rhythm here, and then we'll go from there. Okay. So the first question I have for you is, what is one thing that has changed about you during or through this process? And to be clear, I'm not saying what have you learned. I'm really curious about how you feel you have shifted, even if it's minor or if it's super major. Okay, I'm curious about you internally kind of coming to terms with what you think may have changed about you through this process. And to start, I think I'm gonna give it to Upasana.
Yeah. So the thing which has shifted for me is basically reading my own writing. When fresh off writing a piece and when you are sort of, going through it, you, at least before this happened to me, that, I couldn't look at it. And I would feel, okay, it's not good enough, and it doesn't deserve that kind of attention at this moment. And I would just, keep it aside for a while at least. But that that courage, or I don't know, that that thing that comes within yourself to like look at your own writing and have some sort of, even if it's like immediately after you write it, that is what changed for me, and that led to making more drafts and things like that. But that is something which significantly changed for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Walter, how about you?
For me, I think I would say what's drastically shifted is my confidence towards my writing. I At the start of this, I was very timid and not sure. I'm fearful, but throughout the process, because I had to write more and because I had to share, I had to gain confidence, and I had to gain this. It keeps on going, and I hope to keep gaining throughout after this. So yeah.
Yes. Cool. Okay, this is really interesting. I love it. Okay, Juliet, how about you? What do you think has shifted for you?
That's such a good question. I feel like for me, it's probably a lot like Walter. Like my mindset towards my writing, I was very self-critical and self-deprecating about my writing, and now I'm like, okay, you know what? I can do this. I can do this, and I can do this often enough that it's not going to drive me crazy. So I think that's my biggest learning curve so far.
Okay, that's pretty major. Okay, yeah, awesome. Sonny?
Not to copy everybody else, but also the way I look at writing, not in the same way though. I think I was never overly critical about myself. I think I'm great. That's a joke. But I kind of like my mind has shifted to begin to believe that I don't need to write to make other people happy. Because one of the biggest things for me, like that was holding me back and still does, is that like I keep writing as if I'm being graded on a paper. And I am not doing that anymore, or getting better at least.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's so real. That's I think what I'm loving is it's so interesting to hear you all also just talk about your own your analysis of like yourself and your journey and your process. And I I really appreciate the realness. I think this is good. I want us to kind of go just be honest, because I think that's the best way to actually celebrate ourselves too. It's rather than being like, oh, everything was perfect and amazing. It's like, oh yeah, this thing changed, but maybe this thing didn't. And it's why the second question I think is really important and fun. And it's about, or the question is, if you were in a relationship with your play, describe your current relationship status. And my one note on this was be real. You know, I want, you know, because relationships can get messy, right? So let's hear it. Whatever you, of course, like share what you're comfortable. But if you were to look at you and your play in a relationship, describe the nature of that relationship. And why don't we start with Walter?
Yeah, okay. My relationship with my play, I think I would say it's like a healthy, open relationship, you know? Like when I want some, I get some, you know? And if I want some for a week, I get some for a week. But then when I want to take a break, I take a break and they don't hate me for it. And I don't hate my play for it because it's like I need my break. But then, you know, when I get the urge, I'm like, I hit it up again and then I get some. So yeah, I think that's the best way to describe it. Healthy, not bad. I don't think so.
Okay, but then how do you feel about your play? Like you've described a healthy relationship, and how do you feel about that, the other person or thing?
It feels it feels relaxing because I think before it was more stressful, so I had to learn this balance. I had to learn to take breaks, and I had to learn when to say no and when to not force things. Because when I forced stuff, it was shit. So I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna just sit here and write some bullshit. I'm just gonna go away and then come back when I'm ready, you know? So yeah.
Sonny, how about you?
Riddled with infidelity and on the brink of a brutal breakup. I don't know. I have really complicated feelings towards everything that I do and everything that I say and everything that I write. If we personify my play and I was dating out, I feel like a little bit like it's an arranged marriage that's not going very well, and we both know it. But you know, I don't know. I don't really have anything else to say. I think that sums it up.
Yeah. Well, but you also kind of talked about breakup too. So do you think it's divorce town for y'all, or?
Well, as you know, Asian households sometimes frown upon divorce, so probably not. But um, I think that we need to go to couples therapy. I think we both need to change a little bit before we can truly be happy with each other.
Oh my God. You're bringing back my last relationship all for me. So
Hey, you know, sometimes that's what it is.
Good. Thanks, Sonny, and thanks, Walter. Upasana, how about you?
Yeah, so it can't be described in like one word. It's like having a tantrum in a room and crying and throwing things and then leaving the room and then coming back and calmly saying it's a work in progress. It's a work in progress.
That's so many more than one words, Upasana.
It is. I did say that, did I? Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said just one word.
No, they said the opposite.
Oh, yeah, I said the opposite. Oh my God. But yeah, I mean that's the thing. So it's like a work in progress, and so yeah, that's.
Yep. Makes sense. Juliet, over to you.
Honestly, it's complicated. We're trying to work it out, but I'm not too sure. I think it might be over, but I'm not too sure because I want to write about some new stuff. You know what I mean? And I love my show, but you know, so I might need a second.
Right. Okay, interesting. See, this is good. Like some of the stuff I don't know, some of this I could kind of predict. Yeah, but I hear, you know, when we're ready to kind of move on or at least try something new for a little while, and maybe we come back, maybe we don't. Yeah, that makes sense.
I feel like I'm getting broken up with.
But the unit breaking up with you, or the play breaking up with you?
I don't know. Just the way you were like, sometimes you just gotta try different things. And I was like, I feel like you're talking to me.
Oh gosh. I mean, yeah, I think I'm talking to all four of you. I mean, I think what I was specifically referencing was Sonny and I chatted recently about kind of where you're at with your piece, but I hadn't kind of gotten a sense of totally where Juliet was at. And so it's like, it's also interesting, hearing truth. It's good. It's good. It's all good. It's all welcome here in this celebratory event. That's a perfect note to bring us into our first snippet that we're going to listen to. It is Juliet's piece called Forest for the Trees. And so we're gonna bask in this. We're gonna hear with the audio, with the actors, the sound design. We're gonna listen, and then we're gonna dive into a bit of a deeper conversation. And so, Taylor, whenever you're ready, take it away.
Documentaries are called strange islands. The first one you sort of get away with, and then after that you lose all sense of what let's have a look. Listen carefully.
Fiordland crested penguins, named after this corner of South New Zealand. So why are these woodlands so attractive to penguins? A freshwater stream through the forest makes a handy highway for a parent penguin heading home from the fishing trip.
So, where'd you go?
Just to the bar. It looks exactly the same as when Granddad and I used to stop by there. Where's Mom? I was looking around the house and I remember that day I brought home that bird. Do you remember? Granddad let me keep him, but you were so upset.
Bringing wild things in my house. And my husband always had a soft spot for you.
I was always bringing home broken things. I think he got tired of fighting.
And you never stopped. Just like your mother.
I wouldn't go that far. So, Grandma, tell me, what's going on?
Oh, you know.
No, I don't know. Nobody wants to explain anything to me.
Nobody tells me nothing.
They can't tell you what you already know. What is it you used to say to me? Still waters run deep. Grandma, England is so disappointing. I hate it here. You would think a place drenched in whiteness would at least have a little flair, but no. I can't wait to get back to Canada. At least I can stay up past 7 p.m.
When you go, I go.
You should come back with us. You can live with Nina and I. It would be easier for you and for us. This way you don't have to be alone and we can be here for you.
When you go, I go.
What's that supposed to mean, Grandma?
And that was Forest for the Trees by Juliet Jones-Rodney. Yay. Thanks so much for sharing that with us, Juliet. Okay, here's my question. So what I did was I went away, researched all four of you. And so I've got some research-based questions and then some observation-based questions on the time I spent with y'all in the unit. So in researching you, I learned you were part of a Next Stage show this year.
Yeah.
January or whenever. Yeah. And you were doing that while you were navigating this unit as well as other life things. And so I think I'm really curious when working on other projects, and I know you also dabble in lots of different kinds of artistic media too. It's not just necessarily playmaking. So when you're working on other projects of any kind of artistic form that aren't created by you, what fascinates you about other people's creative process? What are you struck by or drawn to when you're working with other people?
That's a really good question. I think it depends. If it's music, it's usually whatever the feeling is. If they're going for, like, for example, like if it's a breakup song or like something really heartbreaking, like if I don't feel that, like I don't feel my heart actually crack, you know, I don't want to be a part of it, because it's like I want to be able to always recreate that feeling for somebody so that they get a full 3D experience no matter what. But it really depends. It depends on if we have a conversation, and it depends on what the thing is. It just depends. I really am open to a lot of things. So yeah. Depends on the people and, you know, the vibe that we're getting, you know?
Right, right. But you wouldn't say there's one thing that you're kind of always watching out for when you're working with other people?
I would say probably just their spark. Like if they feel really inspired by it, then I'm like, okay, then let me see where this vision is and get on the train. You know what I mean? But other than that, not really. I feel like everybody's thing is different. So to be like, oh, just this one thing, everybody's flavor is, you know, it switches.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. In writing Forest for the Trees, I'm curious if you could talk about distinguishing your characters' voices and what that journey was for you specifically. And I'm especially curious about what worked for you in finding specifically Lauren, Josephine, and Grandma's voices, and how you distinguished the three of them from each other.
Well, honestly, a lot of it was inspired by my family and just by like Black women that I've heard. I tried to write this like how most people hear their family members just talking, you know? And I feel that it's very close to a lot of Black or Caribbean families, you know? You just hear lots of things just tossed out, and then you're like, you either catch it or you're like, oh, if you're, most times you're looking around the house like, oh no, somebody about to fight, you know? It's like, it's great. It's always like theater in your life. So I wanted to recreate that feeling for your ears. And I feel like for all three of them, I just looked for the things that stood out for me for Black women. So for the great grandma character, she's so quiet and stoic. And I know a lot of Black women who, you know, you won't know anything. You won't know what they're thinking until you need to know. And with Lauren, it was just like that wit, like the constant, the witty banter, and just, you know, the side eyes and the comic. It's like, I love that about Black women. We're so ready with a comeback. And Josephine is just like the poise of a Black woman, and just how she can carry herself and really articulate her thoughts and her voice so that, you know, there's no question about what she's thinking. So I think that was like my biggest thing, and just making sure that they sounded like a family and like people that you could say, oh, that sounds just like my auntie, or that just sounds just like my grandma, or, you know?
Right, yeah. It's interesting. You're kind of talking about, you know, defining the qualities of the people, and then from that, almost like the voices emerge, right? Like the poise of Josephine versus the stoicness of Grandma. And I just think that's really rich, you know, a lot to mine once you start to get the almost like the tonal kind of quality of who the person is, and then words maybe can start to appear. I'm curious for anyone else in our unit, does anyone else want to share about anything regarding how they landed on developing voice specifically for the characters in your pieces. This is a free for all. Let it rip.
I could say a 1-2 thing. For me, the voices in my piece, the main characters at least, were directly influenced from my friends growing up, specifically in high school. There's a lot of specific Toronto slang and yeah, just catching the nuances of how we spoke to each other growing up and how our jokes and the way we just communicated was the greatest inspiration. It was really easy for me when I had to write that because it came from a real place. And the other characters came from just, other stereotypical type of figures, like you'll see the cop and the boss, where it's like, think of, formal speech and yeah.
And pushing it, like it felt like you, especially with this stereotypical characters, it's like, okay, this is like how a cop might talk, but now I'm gonna push it into really,
yeah, I'm gonna turn it up a little bit.
Yeah, totally. Anybody else want to share about voice, how you found voice for your characters?
I'll go. So what happened was I started with a generic feeling that I wanted the characters to sort of, exude. There's this feeling of unrest and anger, which is sort of, just going to like boil over. And I placed my characters like, in that scenario and just saw how they sort of, interacted with it. And, what can emerge from characters based in that kind of scenario. And, basically, as I think one of our mentors who came in said that, you place them in a kind of boxing ring and see how they sort of interact with each other. And they don't necessarily like need to fight. So I think that was one of my significant, ways in which I developed, what kind of voice is going to emerge. So, yeah.
This is a bit of a pivot, but Upasana, because you said the word mentors, totally made me realize I did not name or thank the mentors y'all worked with over this year, which I will do now. And then we can get back to regular programming because it's super important. These were people who worked one-on-one with y'all outside of the program, and the rules were like, ask them whatever you want, basically. And so I think they also offered as much of themselves and their generosity too. So it's important to name. Leah Simone Bowen was Juliet's mentor. Mary Beth Badian was Sonny's. Raf Antonio was Upasana's mentor. And Adam Lazarus was Walter's. Cool. Okay, great. On to our second snippet of the evening. We are going to listen to The Waiting Room by Sonny Duan. All right, Taylor, here we go.
It's not the way that people imagine it. It wasn't sad or anything. It just was. People always imagine suicide as a white girl crying and her hands shaking as she fastens a noose while Lana Del Rey plays on vinyl. Decidedly not my style.
So, what about you?
My suicide playlist? A lot of John Coltrane, weirdly.
No, I mean, what was it like?
Basil?
The first time? Pretty relieving. That is, until you wake up. Then you have to talk to a bunch of doctors, and they make you drink this weird charcoal smoothie, and they ask you a bunch of the most stupid questions. It didn't work.
What didn't work?
Jesus. How long have you been here?
A while. How do you feel?
I'd feel better if I wasn't being interviewed by a guy who looks like he chose to become a doctor after watching Eyes Wide Shut.
Are you implying that I'm in denial?
That's what you got from that comparison? Man, what's it like to be you?
How do you feel?
Didn't I answer that already?
Did you?
Fuck off. I feel fine.
Do you know what day it is?
Thursday, November 7th.
It's Friday.
And that was The Waiting Room by Sonny. Thank you for offering that to our unit and this
It's
world.
so stressful.
It's always stressful for you, Sonny.
Uh.
I don't know what to tell you. Okay, let's talk about the suburbs, you
Let's
and me.
do
or-
it,
or
yeah.
all of us, you know? I'm so curious. I always wanted to ask you, and I never did throughout the unit. Would you, okay, I have a bunch of questions. Maybe answer one and then, okay. Would you have commuted to Toronto to attend this Playwrights Unit if it weren't virtual?
Ooh. Yeah, I liked taking public transit.
Okay.
Yeah, I probably would. I mean, if the meetings were kind of this like every 2 weeks, still, yeah, probably. I mean, it would probably be good for me to have a reason to like leave the city. As if there isn't any good reason to leave Hamilton. Every reason's a good reason. But yeah, I definitely would. I don't think I would give up an opportunity like this because I don't do anything else.
It's interesting too, like this thing about leaving the burbs to create work in the big bad city, you know. And I know I'm speaking to this because I left Mississauga, I like ran away from it I didn't start making art until I got to Toronto. It was almost like this like rite of passage that I needed to kind of move through to then allow myself to be able to create. And so I am really curious about whether creating work in specific regions matters to you, because I know you are working in Hamilton too, creatively, as well as here in Toronto. So does it matter to you geographically where you are? And does that inform your work if you know that it's going to happen in a specific city?
I don't think it's the city. I think it's really actually just about the room that I'm in, and like the space that I'm in. I do my best writing, I think, when I'm alone, because I know that like no one can see what I'm writing, but you know, I live with my parents because I'm not going to do anything else. And so when they are home and I'm writing, I feel like weird because, you know, these are not things that I would talk about with them. So it feels strange to write them when they're here. But in terms of like city, like municipal geography, I don't think so. I don't think that that affects me. I think it's just about like what is surrounding you like immediately, or me at least.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That's really interesting. Is there a reason why you kind of talk about a bit of a disdain for Hamilton, and yet is it complicated for you?
Well, okay. I just think that, you know, when you get to like 18, you should move, like you should leave your hometown for at least a little bit. I think you do need to like experience the world, and I'm coming up to that age. And when I first met Aaron Jan, who is a lovely theater guy in Toronto, and went to my high school, and is from Hamilton, his exact words of advice to me were, get the fuck out of Hamilton. And so, you know, I took that to heart. And so I just think that you need to experience things outside of like what you've always known. And I'm sure that like Hamilton from like the outside is probably not that awful, but you know, you're here for so long, and you just see like everyone else's like experiences, especially looking at Toronto. It's such like a big arts place, and while we're getting better here, it's still not as good as Toronto, and I don't know if it ever will be. So yeah, I just think that everyone needs to experience different things in different cities.
Yeah. In talking about waiting room a little bit, this was also a question I was sitting on. I was like, when am I going to ask you this? What is your hot take on likable characters.
Oh, God.
How important is it for you that people like your lead character, Ruth?
I think Seinfeld has proven that like your characters can be shitty. It doesn't matter as long as you care about them. That's what matters more, is that like likability is not as important ever as like how much you care about the people. Like I can read the book. One of my favorite books is You, written by Carolyn Kepnes. It's like a Netflix show now, and like obviously the main character sucks, but that doesn't matter because you care about what he's doing and what's going on around him. That is like likability is much less captivating than like what you do with the character. Yeah.
Right. And so how does one care for a character when we don't like them?
I think
If we don't like them.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can always go like the classic lazy writing route, which is like make them have some sort of weird, like tragic backstory that somehow justifies everything they do. I don't like that. I just think that it's important to write with nuance in terms of like no one's ever like a villain, because this is real life. And so you can not like someone and still care about them because they're showing humanity and because like you see like what they're experiencing and like how they feel and what they're thinking. Really it is making sure that you still see characters as human, and also just people in general. Sometimes we forget that other people are human as well.
Yeah. Great. Okay, cool. Okay, we're gonna open it up as we did last time. Who else wants to kind of speak about considering likability when creating characters? How much does it matter to you? How do you incorporate it into your work if you do it all? Or speaking to what Sonny's kind of offering about how to make people care about your characters.
I feel like for myself, I don't really think about likability all that much. I feel like if the character makes you feel something, regardless, it's good. You know, if you hate that character, then that's a good feeling. If you know, unless they're just really shitty people, but still, like it makes for good theater. It's always compelling, is what my theater teacher used to tell me. Tatiana Jennings.
Yeah. So yeah, likability doesn't really matter for me too, because characters come with negative, positive traits and whatever, you know, in whichever mix we want to make them. But the point where, you know, what Sunny said, caring about your character, but because, you know, that's where it becomes a little difficult for me and a little like slippery ground, because if you care for your character a little too much, you won't put them in embarrassing situations. Like that's what happens with me. And you know, that's where I need to like find the balance between putting them in situations, you know, like making them human in that way, like making them you know, placing them in a world in which anything can happen. And you know, that's where, you know, you need to like let go of the character and have these aspects of it too. So you know, that's where, because you know, then the audience will also, you know, sort of relate to your character, because embarrassing shit happens to like everyone. So yeah, that is the point which I had to say. Yeah.
For me, and this piece specifically that I wrote, I think likability was actually kind of important for me. I wanted my main characters, to be likable to an extent. But I think Sonny said it really well. Like if the character is written with care, doesn't matter if if it's an asshole, a villain, or whatever. It's going to be a relatable character, a character people resonate with if it's written with honesty. And it's a case by case or play by play based, like it depends, right? So
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I was thinking was like, it's also so out of our control. Like we can like our characters as much as we want, but you know, when the play opens and half your audience walks out because they hate the character, it's like it's so out of, we can't pull those people back into their seats and be like, keep watching, I promise you'll like them. Like, it's whereas like approaching a character with care feels like it's something that's more within our control as creators and writers. Okay. On that note, we are going to take another listen. This time we will be listening to an small excerpt from a support group meeting by Upasana Das. All right, Taylor, you know the drill.
I don't like birthdays very much.
Why not?
They just bring you closer and closer to something, don't they? And what thing is that? I don't know. Something. No matter how much you want to stop it, it ends up right on your doorstep.
I don't know where she is learning such things.
Is that Mrityunjay?
I don't know anyone else who knocks on the door. Mashi! Dorja kolo!
Oh, look, what's the matter? Do you feel sick?
What are you doing?
I'm fine.
Put the knife down. Oh, look, you're too young to be handling such sharp objects.
I'm sorry, everyone. She has been this way since the evening. I don't know what's gotten into her. Oh, look!
And that was a support group meeting by Upasana Das. Thank you. Okay, creepy. Amazing. Okay, so first let's get personal and then we'll talk play a little bit. I still don't have a clear idea of what you study in school and whether you like it or not. I don't know why I don't know that. So, okay, I want you to spill the tea on that. Specifically, what is it that you're doing in school and what are your genuine feelings on that? And then, you sought out this writing program while you were still in school. And so I'm curious as to whether you find working on a play is filling a void in your life while navigating, maybe things you don't want to be doing, or is it escape, or is it something entirely different? If you could speak to all of them.
Yeah, so I am a master's student in English literature. So that is what I study. And I do like English literature, but also, what came in with theater was, the sense of like being alive, and which when we read plays, that was what was missing. So, the fact that, this text is for performance. So the performance aspect was missing. And when I saw theater and things like that, so that was, very, I felt alive in that moment. And it was a really beautiful experience and continues to be. So, and which is why I started walking around theater areas related to theater and applied for this program, because writing is something that, I've like always done with like gaps in between when my relationship with writing wasn't as healthy, or I doubted myself or things like that. So, this is like, I wanted to like bring back the creativity in my life, which, sort of like gets a little diminished in university and stuff at times. And so, which is why, and now since the pandemic is here and, things are a little slow. So, when I applied for this, I had to like, bring in, and the pandemic gave time, at least for me, to sort of, try out new things and see how things are working outside university and how spaces operate and things like that. So, yeah, that was definitely interesting, and I hope to continue to do that. Yeah.
Can you describe just a little bit more what this thing of feeling life, like when you talked about kind of accessing plays, what did that look like for you? It's kind of romantic, so I want you to like paint the picture a little bit more,
Yeah. So basically, like a lot of theater companies had their shows on YouTube. and premiered stuff. So I think one of the first things that I watched was Globe Theatre's Hamlet. So, and with Michelle Terry in it, and it was very beautiful because like I had the text, I read the text, I studied the text, but then how they interpreted the text, and the stage and the camera and how everything was working, because after all, I'm not there, and it's like a recorded performance. So all of it was very fascinating, and I was like completely in that world. And yeah, and after that I yeah, and just continued, the process just continued. And it's like the emotions which come in when you're like watching something, it's really very beautiful. So yeah, that's what made me feel alive. Yeah.
So now, without giving too much away, I would really love if you let our audiences know about how the piece that you have created is not a typical South Asian family drama. Without what I would love for you to allude to what makes this show different than a typical kitchen sink brown people drama. And then it would be great if you could also talk about why you're obsessed with exploring violence in your work.
Yeah. So it's not a typical, South Asian drama, family drama, because over here everything is like really serious, and one misstep can sort of result in a lot of things. And everything is sort of like bubbling over here with anger, with things that are behind closed doors, which are forgotten, and are like just threatening to be, threatening to like just come out. And it's like walking on tightrope in this family, and you are really taking care about what you're saying, what steps you're taking, and yet things happen. So it is a serious play, and I hope that it becomes a serious play. And I think that is where the difference lies. And I also like, since none of these characters are like stereotypical brown probably Asian people, and because they are very real interactions, and it's like none of them are like really stock characters. And even though the interaction is that kind of flippant, and the texture which is there in like Asian households, at least in my family. So but yeah, all of them are definitely not stock characters, definitely not. And I think I've answered that question. But about violence, yeah, because violence is like a very real thing. And it happens in a lot of families. I know it happens everywhere. I have grown up with seeing violence and experiencing it. So that makes it very real for me. And somehow like I can't forget that. And it carries it's like some baggage that I'm carrying on with me everywhere I go. And every time I see some people, and yeah, and they might be people from my family. So that is one aspect of it. And another aspect of it is like, if like, this is probably a little unrelated, but it's also related to violence, is like aestheticized violence, where there is violence happening, but you're like, oh, it's really nice, because I'll just give an example, like Hannibal TV show. And so when Hannibal is like slicing up people very artistically, very beautifully, and I was like, oh, this is great. I mean, this is like art. And a lot of people felt that way. I know a lot of people felt that way. And it was beautiful, that kind of thing. But that is when you have sort of like distance with the kind of violence. And the moment you sort of place yourself in that situation, you're like, oh my god. Because I did get nightmares after watching that TV show, and I thought my mom was going to kill me or something. But yeah, anyway, other than that, yeah, these are things which my relationship with violence and the way I see it, the way it is like all pervasive, is something which sort of leads me to explore it, and the ways the extent people can go, and just showing people that. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta say, if there's one thing that unites all five of us in some ways, is is an exploration of work that can be triggering in some ways. And I could point to examples in all 4 of your pieces that could definitely make people uneasy, bring up something for them, uncomfortable. I know that's definitely present in my work too. And so I'm curious if we could talk a little bit about the pros and cons of exploring work that is of that nature. Why do we do it? And what do we have to consider, or what do you consider when you're making work that's dealing with subject matter that you know might bring up things for people?
I think for me, it's just reminding myself that I'm not the only person who's gone through these things. And I know that if I talk about it, most likely there's going to be a couple of other women who can say, yeah, I went through something similar. And that will create conversation. And then maybe it doesn't have to happen to somebody else, you know? And that's just like the constant reminder I have to keep saying to myself, because otherwise, you know, why am I doing this? So it's just helping and hoping that it will create a kinder future for people, and just informing people like, this isn't as crazy, like normal isn't what you think, you know, it happens.
I am inclined to agree. I think that really what you're doing is being honest. And sometimes when you're honest, you are talking about things that are like possibly triggering to people, because those things are important and they form how you are and who you are and how you behave. I mean, not to shine a spotlight over to Upasana again, but like the first time, you know, we read Upasana's work, I was like, oh, so the does is short for does not pull punches. Cool. And like, but there was still, even though it was something that felt like really viscerally like, I feel uncomfortable reading this, there is a level of honesty that is always respected, at least to me. And, you know, when we write about these things, there is obviously the kind of like this, you know, the fact that we're not making it more palatable maybe makes it less accessible to people, or like people who have gone through this might not want to see it because, you know, like, I've already seen this, I know what it is, this is going to hurt me more than it is going to help me. But I think that as an artist, I hate saying as an artist, but as an artist, you know, the thing that you have to do is be true to yourself and what you want to write, which I think in general, as people, we're all always learning how to do. Yeah.
Anyone else have anything they want to contribute specifically just around what do we have to consider when we're making work that might offend or upset people? Anything? I don't have to push this much further, but I will let it hang in the air for another moment. Okay, that moment has passed. And oh Jesus, and it brings us to our fourth and final snippet that we will listen to, and then we'll be moving towards the end of our conversation and the end of our celebration. So we, in a second, will be listening to an excerpt from Mandem, which is a play by Walter Moraes-Mendoza.
You.
You're black.
Oh, hey, light skin, what are you saying?
Fam, what did you and Latino do?
What do you mean, fam? We reached a place, we did the interview, and then we offed it.
Oh, yeah, eh? That's not what my boss is saying.
Okay, well, maybe they weren't really feeling us like that, but what can we do? It's not my fault your boss is a fucking waste man.
You're playing right now, right? This is one of your jokes? I vouch for you, Black. I also vouch for your man, them Latino.
What did your boss even say?
He said I can't be trusted. Fam, I'm gonna get fired. It's impossible to get a job that pays this nice in the city. I'm not gonna be able to pay rent, fam. I'm gonna be a fucking buck tea, fam.
Chill, light skin. I bet it's not even like that. You're gonna keep your job, fam. Don't worry.
What exactly did you guys do?
I did nothing. Maybe Latino did something, but I don't know though.
Are you with Latino?
And that's the end of our tease for you all from Mandem. Okay, I just gotta say, if for anyone who's listening, hopefully somebody is, these 4 pieces, can we just take a moment to acknowledge how distinct and unique each of them are? Like, I mean, it's uncanny how such 4 different voices and peeps and perspectives can come together and exist in a unit, and then now be at the end of this unit. So I mean, as an observer, it's a really special thing to continue to be a part of, which I've really loved in all of this. Okay, Walter, we're gonna get personal. Honestly, it kills me to no end that you received messaging from the world that made you feel like you couldn't or shouldn't write. I know that I've received that messaging too, and for very different reasons. And probably, I think in some ways, everyone on this call has received something from the world telling them, you shouldn't do it. Your voice isn't good enough or not interesting enough, or whatever that packaging, that messaging comes to us in. And so I'd love if you could speak about how you moved through fighting this idea that you can't write, and what has helped or hasn't helped you on your specific writing journey.
Yeah. I guess for some context, when I went to school, when I was very young, I only knew Spanish, so I was always behind the other students in my class when it came to reading and writing. I was never at the level where I was supposed to be at. So because of this, I was always behind. I would always do poorly, and teachers would never teach me. I guess, and also like at home, I spoke Spanish. It wasn't really much, specifically in English, and nothing like writing or reading going on. So I think around when I went to high school, I got put into these like special reading and writing classes, and you guys probably had that in your respective schools. And they told me I have reading and writing comprehension that it always made me feel like I was a dumbass, like I was stupid, like I couldn't write, I couldn't read. It always made me feel inferior. So every time I had to read aloud or share my writing in high school or even in theater school, it would be terrifying for me. It would I would shake literally sometimes, and also internally. So that was something I had to deal with for a long time, and not until my last year at theater school, where I had to write something, I didn't really have a choice, was where I started to not give a fuck or not care. So yeah, so yeah, because of that, I had to just figure out what worked for me and figure out what my voice is, because I don't think I never had an instructor or a teacher to really encourage that from me, until literally I had to encourage it for myself. Yeah, what was this last part?
Yeah, you're kind of already speaking to it, just around what kind of helped you on your own writing journey. What was the thing that kind of kept you going? And you're speaking a little bit about like a self encouragement, kind of. Is that what that was for you?
Yeah, it was like, well, because my play is so like it's something I'm so like when I started writing was first it was just literally my two characters speaking Toronto slang. So that is just like something that's easy to me. So every time I had to write an essay in school or had to write a paper about an opinion or about something, I always thought there's a way to do it. And the teacher would try to teach me like, this is the formula. You gotta follow this formula. And it's like, okay, so I need to start with introduction and this and this and that. And I talk about whatever. And I was never able to just understand, or of course like spelling and reading was always difficult for me to really comprehend. So when I started writing my piece, I understand what's in my head. I understand what I want to say. So that was very reassuring for me and brought me ease. And like I said before, the confidence that I never had, I'm gaining now when it comes to my writing.
Yeah, that's a pretty sweet place to be in, you know, especially when so much is thrown at us to go the other way or do the other thing. I know I feel it, being on the other side of something a little bit, or just being like, you know what? Yes, for a number of years, I was feeling a certain way, and things are shifting. Kind of to tie it back to the kind of first thing we were talking about around identifying when something's changed, and that being a real gift, you know, to follow that change, and who knows where it will lead you. I find your work really political, like deeply, intensely political, and I love that. I mean, I'm into that shit. But from what I gather about you, I don't totally perceive you as someone who self-identifies as an intensely, deeply political person. And so correct me if I'm wrong on that. And if I'm not wrong, I'm curious, how do you like to define your work and your writing style, specifically as an artist?
You are 100% correct on that observation. Yeah. I am not political. I'm not like zero. Like me, who I am, like every day to day, I'm not. I try to, because then conflict is, and what all that. But when I started writing, I didn't start writing with the intention to be political. I started writing with the intention to be funny. Like I wanted to write a comedy. I wanted to write something funny, and like the first thing I came up with was like the characters' name that are Black and Latino, and that itself is a political, like something people may perceive as political. So like right there, I'm already losing like that battle, and then I guess the humor just came with the political stuff, and it's just like I can't stop it because that's just like where my mind's taking me. Then I remember when I was very young, and I would watch a lot of Family Guy and a lot of satirical shows like that. Of course, like my mom would never find out, but I did, and that's where I derive a lot of my humor from. These jokes that are crossing the line and like not crossing the line, and talk about things, and there's layers to them, and that always like fascinated me. How you can make me laugh, then I feel guilty about my laughter, and that was always like, that was always like wow to me.
This will be something that everyone will respond to, but maybe Walter, you kick us off, and then we can pass around. I'll do a little speech, and then I'm going to shut up, and then we really are going to end. I think why I wanted to end on this last question is specifically for people who are listening in to really take our cues from you all. I can't say it enough. I think we need to continue to look towards young emerging people and what it is that they are obsessed with, what are the things that they care about. So we get a sense of what our theater community is becoming and looking like and how it's ever evolving. And, you know, my thing always is to go with it rather than resist it. You know, we will be totally unsuccessful resisting the force that is that is among us and coming. And so I'm maybe, Walter, if you want to start us off, I would love if you could just talk about what it is that you care about as a writer in your stories or in your process, whatever it is. What do you care about? And then we'll hear from everybody.
I'm not gonna lie, this was the hardest question for me because I've been asked this several times and never had a concrete answer. But when I write, I care about my characters that are inspired by my family and my friends. I care about what I'm saying, in the sense that I don't want to like, it's hard. I don't want to say some like stupid, like this question is a work in progress for me. I'm still figuring it out, but maybe there's an answer in there somewhere. I don't know.
I think that, you know, if we chopped off the 2/3 of your thing, which we don't have to do, we love the mess that we all are. But the thing that you said, which is so clear to me, is you care about the characters who are a reflection of your friends and family. Like that's a full sentence to me.
Yeah, there we go. Forget whatever I said after that.
Okay, great. Taylor will cut it out. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
Don't do that. Okay. Don't do it. Keep it all in. Okay, great. Let's pass it over to Juliet.
I think for me, I'm very focused on Black people and everything that surrounds that. Their joy, our pain, our happiness, our lust, everything, because it's so often ignored, and making it less stereotypical and less caricatural, is that a word? I don't know. But, you know, making them real people and people that reflect the people I know and the people that my people know. Yeah.
Sonny, how about you?
I thought Upasana was gonna go next. Okay, I care about humanity. I mean, I think, like, whenever you ask me anything about, like, any sort of media, is that I want everybody to be treated with compassion. I said before, like, I don't believe in, like, true, like, evil or villains or things like that, because I mean, at least not in real life and in theater that is aiming to be realistic in any sort of way. Because I think we all know that, like, nuance is incredibly important and it makes you want to care about things. And what better to care about than the thing that makes you want to care?
Yeah. Okay. So what I care about changes, like, you know, depending on what I'm writing. So, but one thing which, you know, remains throughout is, like, I'm caring about transferring. Usually the emotions which I'm feeling before writing a piece are, like, all in a jumble, are happening because of some fight. At least this thing was, you know, generated because of a fight. And, you know, just transferring all those tumultuous feelings onto paper, and, you know, making everyone feel what I you know, I'm feeling at that moment, and, you know, the countless number of moments that will follow, and transferring all the images that I have in my mind, that I want there, that I want the audience, that I want the reader or viewer to, you know, just sort of perceive. I will care about a lot of things. I will care about, you know, South Asian families. I will care about my family. I will care about queer communities. I would care about psychological issues, violence, a lot of things, depending on, where I am at that moment. But this is what I primarily care about, to transfer whatever I'm feeling onto paper, because yeah.
Mm, mhm, mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Those are all. I mean, I think it's. I think just to, kind of go back to just where we started this. It really, truly, and I know at this point anything I say doesn't. It all kind of sounds the same because I've been talking to y'all for too long, too many months. But there's a real stepping into yourselves as writers that I think has happened. I don't know that all four of you would speak in this way, hold this conversation for as long as we did. If I was like, okay, let's December 1st meeting, let's chat like this, So I think that can also be a marker of our growth, which is just, it's so paprika, it's so special, it's so right, and it's everything that the world needs. So thank you so much for doing everything that you do and for achieving what you did in this program. And thanks for anybody else who tuned in, and good night, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Take care, everyone. Bye.